Hello, this is Xbox Ahoy, and it's time for another bonus footage. This time it's the RPG. I told you I'd be catching up. You see, this is the second bonus footage in the same week. I'm ahead of the game. By my reckoning, we've got about 15 minutes of explosions and whatnot, so I suppose we best get on with the questions. First up, it's Edge Smash with the question, Hey Xbox Ahoy, what is your favourite indie game? Well, it's quite tough to think of every single indie game that I've ever played, but in no particular order, here are some of the favourites, some of the games that I've actually enjoyed. First up, it's FTL, Faster Than Light. It's a roguelike space simmy thing, which is entirely random and entirely unfair, but I do rather enjoy it. In a similarly spacey theme, Kerbal Space Program. I'm no good at that game, I can't really do the impressive stuff, but I do admire the scope, and I do quite like the presentation. It needs some work doing yet, it maybe needs a bit of a focus on accessibility and the career mode, but it's coming along and it's got promise. Next up, a game called Xenonauts, which is a more faithful recreation of the original UFO Enemy Unknown, or XCOM Enemy Unknown, I think as it was known in some territories. Again, currently in development, but it shows some promise, and the aerial combat I quite like. It's all on a radar screen, and it's a little bit more advanced than XCOM ever was. Next, Bastion. That counts, doesn't it? I didn't really like Bastion at first, but I think the more that you play that game, the more you realise that everything's just so coherent, and everything's so beautiful, and everything just works. You can't help but fall in love with the aesthetic. Another favourite, a game called Proteus. I absolutely love procedural generation of content. I don't know whether it's because, you know, I'm a bit of a programmer and I admire the technical feat of actually making a semi-believable world through code, but I just love them, and I love the fact that the games are different every single time. There is some debate as to whether Proteus is actually a game, but what it is beautiful, and, well, I was, you know, technically impressed with it as well, which helps. Another one I like, Retro City Rampage. It looks like a NES game, but it plays beautifully, and it's got the accessibility down, it's got the fun factor down, and it's got all these wonderful pop culture references. I really like that game, it's really well put together. Those are probably my favourite games that are indie, looking at my Steam library. There are some other games that are good that I mean, I appreciate that Super Meat Boy is a really, really good platformer, but I'm not a huge fan of platformers. I like Super Meat Boy, but I don't love Super Meat Boy. But that's just my opinion. I know it's a really, really strong indie title, and there are other strong indie titles that I've not mentioned. There are a couple of games on my must playlist. I've still yet to play Hotline Miami, and Thomas Was Alone as well. I believe that's supposed to be pretty good. Next up, Yummy Sandwiches asks, did you get any hate mail while getting these clips, Stu? You know, sadly I did not. It's probably testament to the fact that the explosives are kind of balanced now, and the fact that, I mean, on a sort of KDR basis, I didn't do fantastically well with the RPG, because it's not that good, if you know. But even so, you know, throwing C4 and using RPGs didn't get any hate mail at all. I guess people are maybe just insensitive to that sort of thing now. For those of you interested, my KDR with the RPG, it stands at 0.96. So almost parity, which, considering I was using it basically as a primary weapon, that's not too bad. 1 for 1, I can live with that with an explosive weapon. Planar Collapse 2 asks, Dear Stu, were the launchers the toughest weapon videos to make? Not so much, no. I mean, the FHJ was probably the toughest weapon to guild so far, because you're reliant on other people calling in score streaks. But the video itself is relatively straightforward. I don't know about the toughest, but the most frustrating video to make so far was the Assault Shield. The Assault Shield is just a really frustrating weapon to use. It's the lack of effectiveness. I mean, the RPG isn't the most effective weapon, but at least you can spam it. With the Assault Shield, you're slow moving and you've got the range of, well, less than a knife. And enemy bullets have this magical ability, even when you're looking right at them, to find their way around your shield and into your soft, fleshy body, thus killing you. So yeah, I have zero desire to ever use the Assault Shield again. Other than that, most weapons are easy. I mean, I don't really try and go for an artificial level of gameplay, I play for the equivalent of 2 weapon prestiges, which is quite a lot of gameplay. And I just select the best bits, and whatever happens, happens. I don't really sweat the details. I mean, if the best I can get with a weapon is a double kill, then so be it. What are you going to do? The Birdman779 asks, Stu, I'm having trouble getting the triple kill with the RPG. Any quick tips on what game mode I should play? Ah yes, the triple kill. Do you know what? Right, first game I'm recording with the RPG. It was a match on Hijacked. There's a clip in the main guide, you'll see it. First game I play, literally the first game I'm recording, I go in and I get a triple kill. I mean, admittedly, it's a double rocket followed by a single rocket in rapid succession, but it still counts for the challenge. Except I didn't have the challenge unlocked. So that was quite annoying. And I didn't see another triple kill for, well, another couple of hours. Now, by far, your best bet for getting multi-kills like that is in something like Domination, where people congregate around a single point. And obviously, the more people in the game, the better. So, Ground War Domination, by far and away, the best place to get that triple kill. In fact, for explosives, Ground War in general is the place to be. You've got more score streaks to shoot down, and people do tend to use Flak Jacket quite often, but there are a lot of people who don't. I suppose one thing you do have to remember is to switch lobbies. At least, once in a while, just so that people don't get wise to your tactics and start using nothing but Flak Jacket. 123454321 Anonymous says, don't the RPG warheads not detonate upon impact if its stabilizing fins are not completely out because the rocket didn't travel far enough? Yes, in real life, I think the rockets have a minimum arming distance, and it's done gyroscopically, I think. They need to rotate a certain number of times before the actual warhead will arm. In game, however, you can launch a rocket right at the floor at your feet, and it will explode still, and it will obviously it will kill you. But, I mean, to be honest, there are quite a few unrealistic traits about the launchers. I mean, if you were to launch the RPG from within a confined space, the backblast would probably do you in. It would probably take out any teammates and any enemies in the enclosed space at the same time, which could be nice, it could work out in your favour, but yeah, no, the launchers aren't entirely realistic. Dragon Dove asks, if you could design your own multiplayer map, what would it be? You know what I would really like, as far as multiplayer maps are concerned? Again, harking back to the procedurally generated content remark, I love procedurally generated content, and I would love to have generated maps. So you never know precisely what the layout is going to be. Which, could be a really interesting dynamic. I mean, you don't know where the cover points are, you might not know where the objectives are if it was an objective game. It could be entirely imbalanced in your favour, or it could work out. I don't know. It would be really, really hard to do something like this, and it probably would have a whole host of problems associated with it. But I don't know, the idea of dynamic maps appeals to me. You'd have to do it so you had like a few different preset styles of map with, different art assets, different textures, that sort of thing. So you could have like an American city style, you could have Russian countryside style, stuff like that, different types of scenery. And you'd have to maybe sort of structure the maps in such a way, either on sort of a grid, or at least to have some sort of rule to make sure the map is at least playable. But something like that could be really good for the longevity of a multiplayer game, and it would throw up some nice emergent surprises, I think, in a multiplayer experience. So there's your answer. I wouldn't design a map at all. I would design a system that designed maps autonomously. Walden1982 asks, Stu, a tiger versus a Velociraptor, which one would win? Now you see, right, I bet a lot of you people are thinking, Velociraptor, live from Jurassic Park. You're wrong. Jurassic Park was wrong. The Velociraptor is actually a little tiny chicken-sized thing. I mean, looking at Wikipedia, they are barely more than knee-high. And I mean, come on, birds are descended from them. I mean, a tiger could take a knee-high bird, I'm pretty confident, so my money is on the tiger. Now, if we're talking about the Jurassic Park Velociraptors, I think they might have based it on a species called Utah Raptor, which is quite considerably larger than the Velociraptor. It's about 6-7 foot tall. Some fossils found maybe 10-12 foot tall. They're big dinosaurs. Now, something like that, the tiger would probably have the good sense to run away. So, I don't know. It's kind of hypothetical, really, isn't it? I very much doubt we're going to see sort of any trans-era blood sports in our lifetime, which might be a good thing, actually. Ezra Spencer asks, hey Stu, what was the highest multi-kill you got with the RPG? I actually got a mega kill with a combination of C4 and the RPG. That was actually my first, and I think so far only mega kill. I was playing Hardpoint, and well, of course, the enemy was spawning. I think it was on Nuketown. I think it was. Maybe it was hijacked. It was a small map anyway, and they just kept on coming in a doorway, and I kept on spamming rockets and C4, and I managed to get 7 kills in a very short space of time. Also, as it turns out, a mega kill doesn't count for the triple kill challenge, even if you get more than 3 kills with the RPG in rapid succession. I think 4 kills might have been with the RPG. I think there were 2 or 3 rockets in total. But yeah, at that point I was still yet to unlock the triple kill challenge. I attained a mega kill and the challenge did not unlock. Speaking of impossible challenges, Sergeant Killcam 109 asks, "You sure you hit that first UAV, Stu? Seems like it blew up due to the time running out on the round." You know, I wasn't 100% sure what happened then myself, but that UAV was actually how I attained the shooting down an aircraft challenge, so it must have counted. It must have been a hit. I don't know, it happened right at the end of the game. Of course, as is my luck with the RPG, earlier that night I shot down a VTOL, but I hadn't unlocked the challenge. Lee Smith writes, "I've really enjoyed your series, Stu. Hopefully you'll have more passion for CoD Ghosts and you won't feel as though you have to do it. You make great series and in-depth gameplay with your commentary. Thanks, I've watched them all and still surprised by your dedication to every video with your thought-out builds and structure in how you play." So, let's talk about motivation, let's talk about CoD Ghosts. There is a period of time upon the release of new Call of Duty where everything is new and everything is exciting, but that feeling kind of gives way relatively quickly. So as far as doing a Call of Duty Ghost series, yes, I am excited to cover it, but I am going to make sure that the series sits almost entirely within that honeymoon period, where, you know, the game is good and you still want to play it and you're not sick of doing the videos. Basically, I never want to do a year-long series again. I want to remain more flexible. I want to cover a broader variety of stuff. And I don't mind spending a couple of months on a game, but certainly not a year. So that's my plan with CoD Ghosts. And hopefully that'll mean by the time that Destiny releases, by the time Titanfall releases, I'll be free and able to do new and exciting next-gen content. But we'll see. Really my goal is just to be more flexible and not to be tied down to one thing for so long. The Robin227 asks, "Hey Stu, did you see the Battlefield 4 multiplayer reveal at E3? And if so, what do you think about it?" There's one thing that strikes me about Battlefield 4, and, well, that is how similar it looks to Battlefield 3. I mean, Call of Duty takes a lot of flack for reiterating the same formula again and again, but, I mean, you'd be hard-pushed. If you weren't familiar with Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4, you'd be hard-pushed to tell the difference. I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, and I'm certainly going to give Battlefield 4 a fair shake. Some of the new features, yeah, I guess. I mean, the destruction of the tunnel and the giant skyscraper, that's undoubtedly cool, although the cynical side of me thinks, well, that's probably scripted to some degree. But nevertheless, Battlefield 4 has my interest, and it's a potential for doing videos on. There is a bit of an overlap. I think it's released at around the same time as Call of Duty Ghosts, which could cause some friction. So I guess it comes down to whichever game I prefer. But one thing I like, I'm an unashamed deathmatch fan. I like instant action. So I'm not so much of a fan of Battlefield's Rush and Conquest game modes. But like I say, we'll see. I'll give Battlefield 4 a fair shake and see if I actually enjoy it. And if so, then I'll produce some content for it. That's a maybe, by the way. That's not a promise. That's not an Xbox Ahoy promise to do Battlefield 4 content. It's not. Anyway, time for one more. Strat the Convict asks, "What's your opinion of the newly revealed Ubisoft driving game, The Crew?" The Crew is an open-world driving game. It's a little bit like something like Smuggler's Run, I think. But it's, well, basically you've got the entirety of the United States simulated on a basic level. So you can drive from LA to New York, and apparently it takes like an hour or two. So, huge map. I don't know what the missions will be like, but looks like it could be fun. Yes, that has caught my interest. I do like my driving games, and that's something I probably will pick up. My 3 favourite things in games: procedurally generated content, big maps, open world. The more of those boxes ticked, the better. I realise that Minecraft is the perfect fit, and I do like Minecraft, but I don't play it so much these days because it's kind of a time sink, really. You find yourself playing it and it just, I don't know, sometimes it feels like a grind. All I need to do is clear out these 10,000 blocks, and then I've got the space cleared for my... It's just clicking on stuff, and it gets a bit boring after a while. But I love Minecraft's world and the generation of it. I suppose I should have mentioned that in the first question. Anyway, coming full circle, that marks about the end of this bonus footage. We're coming up to the end now. So I shall bid you farewell. I'm probably going to set this to go live Wednesday afternoon. Yeah, it's about a day and a half from now, just to give some space in between this and the Scar H. The day after this goes live, you've got the first of 3 attachment guides coming this week. I think it's dual wield. On Friday, you've got the Scorpion Evo. On Saturday, you've got the Target Finder. And finally, on Sunday, Extended Clip. And you never know, we might have another bonus footage at some point in the next half week or so. We'll see. Anyway, until next time, farewell.